I want you to imagine you've gone upstairs and are looking into a room where there's a table that's all set and ready for a special meal. That's where the next scene in our Easter in miniature takes place. 2 of Jesus' disciples had prepared everything earlier in the day, and that evening, Jesus and his disciples had gone to that room to eat their meal together. This was a special meal for 2 reasons. The first reason was that this was a Passover meal, a meal that the Jewish people celebrated every year to remember an important part of their history. It was also a special meal because it was going to be Jesus' last meal with his disciples before he died on the cross the next day. And Jesus gave his disciples a special way to remember him, ready for the time when he wasn't going to be with them anymore. Now, quite a lot of things happened at this meal. Firstly, Jesus washed his disciples' feet, and he did that to set them an example. When we hear about Jesus riding into Jerusalem on the donkey on Palm Sunday, he came as a king, but as no ordinary king. Instead, he came as a king who had come to serve others rather than be served himself. And Jesus wanted his disciples to follow this example and serve others too. When we serve others, it means we put their needs before our own. We put them first. Now, this meal was quite a sad occasion for many reasons. And one of those reasons was that Jesus knew that one of his closest friends there at the meal with him was going to betray him. When we betray someone, it means we turn against them. We become their enemy rather than their friend. We might say horrible things about them, or do horrible things to them, or even do things deliberately to get them in trouble. This is what the Bible tells us. When evening came, Jesus arrived with the 12. While they were reclining at the table eating, he said, "I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." They were saddened, and one by one began to say to him, "Surely not I." "It is one of the 12, he replied, "one who dips bread into the bowl with me. Things will happen to me just as they have been written about. But for the man who betrays me, it will be terrible. It would be better for him if he had not been born." Then Jesus gave them bread to eat and wine to drink. This is what the Bible says. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, gave thanks and broke it, and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take it, this is my body." Then he took the cup, gave thanks and offered it to them, and they all drank from it. "This is my blood which has been promised, which will be poured out for many to forgive their sins. Whenever you eat bread and drink wine in this way, remember me." When they had sung a song, they went out to the Mount of Olives. The bread represented Jesus' body, and the wine represented his blood, looking ahead to his death on the cross the next day. This was the biggest way that Jesus had come to serve other people. But the bread and wine were also something that Jesus gave to his disciples and followers to help them remember him in the future, after he died, risen again, and gone back to heaven to be with God. Jesus said to them, "You will all run away, for it has already been written about me. I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." Now, the Bible often uses the picture of a shepherd and sheep, because a shepherd is somebody who cares for and loves and looks after their sheep. And in this picture the Bible uses, the shepherd is often used to represent Jesus, who looks after and cares for all of his disciples and followers and people who believe and trust in him. and they are represented by the sheep in this picture. So he was saying to his disciples, I am going to get hurt, and you are all going to run away. But Peter said, even if everyone runs away, I will not. It's true, Jesus answered. Today, yes, tonight, before the cock crows twice, you yourself will disown me 3 times. When we disown somebody, it means we pretend we don't know them and we don't know anything about them. But Peter insisted, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. And all the others said the same. After this, Jesus went with his disciples to the garden to pray. He asked them to keep watch for him while he prayed. He prayed that God would help him to do what God wanted him to, however hard it was going to be. 3 times he asked his disciples to keep watch while he prayed, and 3 times they fell asleep. When he had finished praying, Judas, one of his disciples that had been at the meal table with him just a short while before, came to the garden with the Roman soldiers who arrested Jesus. Judas was the betrayer that Jesus had talked about. When Jesus was arrested, all the disciples ran away, just like Jesus said they would, except for Peter, who followed Jesus to the house of the high priest where he was taken to be questioned. Peter waited outside in the courtyard to see what would happen. While Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came by. When she saw Peter warming himself, she looked closely at him. You also were with that Nazarene, Jesus, she said. But he denied it. I don't know or understand what you're talking about, he said, and went out into the entrance. When the servant girl saw him there, she said again to those standing around, This fellow is one of them. Again, he denied it. He said he didn't know Jesus. After a little while, those standing near said to Peter, Surely you are one of them, for you are a Galilean. That meant that they recognised the way he spoke. He spoke in the same way that Jesus did because he came from the same place. So Peter began to call down curses on himself and swore to them, I don't know this man you're talking about. Immediately the cock crowed the second time. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken to him. Before the cock crows twice, you will disown me 3 times. And he broke down and wept.